Let's get going. Yes. All right, that'll do. That'll do. Actually, let's see. Does the chat actually work?
A new flash flood warning has been issued.
Of course it doesn't. Of course it doesn't. All right, we are live. Of course. Let's get that up. What's going on? What's going on? Shrink this bad boy down and we're back in action. Oh, I'm missing something very important. Hey. What's going on, yo dude? Yo dude. What's going on? Oh, let some people get in here. We'll talk a little bit of winter and a little bit of tropics. I wish I had like a Gatorade or something right now. Tufts, I've gone over this a few times. OBS, the app that does the vertical, allows me to set up the double screen. It's not working on OBS right now. Since OBS had an update, they're having issues with that app working, so I can't do the double screen. But you can turn your phone sideways on TikTok, and you can see the full setup. Imelda's doing just fine. Tropical Storm. Actually, let me put this into motion. Sorry, guys. Imelda's doing just fine. She's hanging out there. Tropical Storm. Starting to get a little bit of circulation. Weak Tropical Storm moving north at 9 miles per hour. And Humberto out here is going to pull Imelda off into the east. And we're going to avoid a landfall because of that. Pretty good stuff. But we're going to look at some things. I'm going to let some people get in here. I'm going to look at some models behind the scenes. Let's see what our AT&Z GFS is showing. We're seeing some developments in the Gulf very soon. So I do want to take a look at that. Okay, yeah, and GFS is seeing another tropical system coming out of the tropical Atlantic. That's interesting. What the heck is going on Radar Omega? Oh.
New information. This flash flood warning has been updated.
Let me look at the European model. 1 second, guys. 18Z Euro sees the same thing. You know, here's what's happening. Our storms begin to move to the north. They get too close, and this one yanks Imelda away. Saving everybody. Boom, pulled it away like that. Pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. Euro doesn't see anything else immediately, which is good. Let's look at our latest H-Wharf here. Let's go to H-Wharf, Imelda. It's taking a second to load. Nice stuff. What's the chance it hits the States? Pretty low. I'd say about 5% now. 95% it doesn't. Tufts, NTX, Morgan. Appreciate you guys. And H-Wharf has this thing getting down to 959 millibars. It has this thing. Actually, it has this storm going over Bermuda as potentially a Cat 3. That's an issue. That's an issue. Now that I see that, I think that's Bermuda, right? Is that not Bermuda right there? I think that is. Does the GFS see that as well? Let's see. Yeah, the GFS sees that as well. All right, Bermuda needs to pay attention to this. It does look like Humberto should miss Bermuda, but Imelda might hit Bermuda. Is that a Cat 5? This is a Cat 4 right now. This right here is a Cat 4 hurricane. Strong. 928 millibars. This is a very... I'm kind of convinced this is a Cat 5 and it's just not being graded or recorded correctly because its structure is so beautiful and it's in an extremely good environment right now. No shear, warm waters, moist air, and also at 928 millibar central pressure, that's usually a category 5. But they only record at max sustained winds at or around 145 miles per hour. So they're saying it's about, 10 miles per hour sustained short of a Cat 5. But I don't know. That looks like a Cat 5 to me. And 928 millibars, you're telling me that's not a Cat 5? That's a pretty dang low pressure to not be a Cat 5. So I think it may be. I think it may be. This is Imelda right here. Let's let it load a second. It's starting to get that signature spin. You can see it's starting to finally get that kind of storm look. We've got a center that looks to be right about right there right now. Yeah, that's where I would say it is. I would say our center's moving up and around Marsh Harbor. They have it a little bit farther to the south, but it looks like the actual center of rotation is a little farther north. But there they are, right next to each other, and they're going to be influencing each other. They're going to be, this one is going to be pulling, like I said, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but this one is going to be pulling Imelda off to the east. So yeah, that's what's happening there, guys. I'm gonna put this back over here. Let's go back here, and we're gonna talk about some a little bit of an updated winter forecast here in a second. Let me see what questions first. Lil Perry, could there be a possible severe weather before it gets close to the USA? I mean, yeah, you're already getting some bad weather into the coast. It's going to put some bad weather into the coast, maybe a tiny bit of surge and some flooding concerns along the coast. Yeah, you're still going to feel some impacts along the coast. But it's not going to make a direct impact into the south anymore, thanks to Hurricane Humberto. How bad is the rain going to be in Florida? Not too bad. Not too bad. You actually have a high pressure up here that's pushing down. It's going to keep a lot of this moisture off to the east. It's not going to be too bad. Hilton Head this week. You're going to get a lot of tropical moisture being pulled up into Hilton Head. It's going to be pretty rainy this week, but no serious tropical impacts. Morgan Marissa. Detective? I appreciate you guys. Yes, rain. Upstate South Carolina, you should be good. Rain in Jacksonville, Florida, a little bit from this, yes. A little bit. We can talk about snow. Sure. We went over this earlier, but we're going to dive into some stuff. This is what the European model thinks we could. This is where the European ensemble thinks we could have snow before November 12th. So, interesting. This would be some snow pretty far south, obviously. Very early in the season. And we're going to get into why we expect our jet stream up here. We expect active storm systems early in the season because of our weak La Nina, but we're going to go into this in 1 second. Let me just get like a glass of water or something. I should have brought something in here. Okay. Yeah, give me 1 second. Is there a chance Southeast could get snow again? There's always a chance. We'll talk about it though. Weak La Ninas aren't usually too wintry for the south, but it doesn't mean it's not impossible. What was the name of the radar with the 2 hurricanes? This is Radar Omega. This one right here is Radar Omega. I need to turn down my... Is it the frame? Yeah, it's making too much noise, my transition. I don't know why it's making so much noise. But it shouldn't be that loud. Let me actually pull that up. Give me 1 second, guys. Scene transitions. Let's go into here. Properties. Let's see if I can fix this. Oh, monitor only. Okay, good. Good. Let me try this real quick. Okay, you guys can hear that, I think. Monitor only. Okay. Oh, sorry. Here, yeah. This is Radar Omega here. Let me quickly. Well, we're gonna do a little bit of winter forecasting. Let me grab some water, and we'll start. I believe most hurricanes do bring a small tornado risk. Yeah, they usually do. You know, it's a lot of shear. Anytime there's shear, you get a little bit of tornado risk if there's a little bit of instability. What kind of music is this? It's just a custom playlist that I put together on a site called Epidemic Sound that allows me to stream music without getting copyright strucken. If I wasn't doing it through here, I would not be able to put music on stream and not get, or I wouldn't get, none of my videos or anything would be able to be monetized, and some of them would be taken down. So what's up with Jacksonville, Florida? You're gonna get some good rainfall, some breezy conditions, but you're gonna miss the worst of it. Should be pretty good. We get some water.
So sad. Only hands. I'm so sad. So sad. Only hands
I forgot to hit the be right back. Forgot to turn my be right back on. Thanks for the follow, Abby. Yes, correct. Imelda currently not forecast to make a landfall. We're watching another disturbance out here though that wants to potentially get together. So they're kind of lining up right now. We're probably going to get tropical development out here as well. Something coming up into northern Mexico that could bring in a decent amount of rainfall into Texas. and New Mexico. All right, let's talk a little bit about winter. Why don't we here? All right. Here's what the Euro thinks we're gonna. Here's the snow the Euro thinks we're gonna have in the next 46 days. An estimate. It's not gonna happen like this, guys. This is an extended forecast, but it's what it thinks we could have. You know, the dark gray's an inch, the blues a 2 or 3. Then you get into the purples 5 or 6. Then you get into the pinks. It's like a foot. Here we go. Let's pull some stuff up here. Let's look at some stuff. Why don't we? I love looking at stuff with you guys. All right. We're going to be in a week La Nina in about 2 to 3 weeks, right? We all agree on that? Let's take a look at this. Enzo forecast. Oh, look at this. 70% confidence. Almost. I mean, yeah. 70% confidence that we're in a week La Nina. October, November, December. November, December, January. And over 50% chance December, January, February. This would be big if we kept it in there. Well, here's what week La Ninas look like, okay? Now, I want to show you the confidence in this, too, which I don't think is on this chart. But week episodes of a La Nina. This is our average temperature anomalies for the winter, December, January, and February. For a week La Nina. Notice anything about these? By the way, if it's blue or green, that means that the temperature is below average. Notice anything about what typically happens during a week La Nina? You guys see any pattern here? I'll give you a hint. Brr. It's cold as frick, typically, during a week La Nina. It's below average in the United States. There's a lot of reasons for that. I'm not going to keep going into it. But your jet stream's up to the north. It can disrupt your polar vortex a little bit more. And this is just typically the only area that usually, not always though, look, cold southeast sometimes. Usually the southeast struggles. Usually the southeast is average to mild. But listen, we've had snowstorms in the south during a week La Nina event. It's not impossible. So if you're in the south and you really want in southeast and you really want snow, I'm not saying there's no chance you get snow this year. It's just lesser than normal. All right. Okay, week La Nina precipitation anomalies. Well, when it comes to the center of the country and out east, you'll notice the Midwest usually does pretty decent, average to above average precipitation. So you got to think colder than normal, wetter than normal. That means snowier than normal up there. Interestingly enough, this little area right here, I would say East Texas up through the Mississippi, Tennessee Valley, up through the Ohio Valley into like Western PA. You know what you see what I'm showing over here? This area does surprisingly well. Okay, we're talking Eastern Texas, Northern Louisiana, Northern Alabama, Northern Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, Western Virginia, West Virginia, Ohio. You know, this area does surprisingly well with precipitate. Is during a week La Nina more often than not. This is the average of the winter, colder and wetter, which you would think you get higher snow chances through there. That kind of cuts off once you get down into central to southern Alabama, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. But okay, that's annoying. But that's the thing that really stands out here. And your Pacific Northwest is usually wetter than normal. Now, it really depends how the jet stream's set up. Does it set up right above Oregon right above Washington for most of the winter, or does it set up right below Washington near Oregon? But yeah, week La Ninas tend to be a little bit colder and snowier. None of these though that you're seeing here had an NPO as warm as we have right now. And that's going to enhance our weak La Nina, meaning this isn't just going to be a weak La Nina. It looks like it's going to be a enhanced weak La Nina. So what does that mean? Well, if a weak La Nina is usually colder for the U.S., is usually a below average winter for the U.S., imagine an enhanced below average winter, an extra cold winter for the U.S., and potentially an extra snowier Midwest, upper Midwest, potentially Pacific Northwest. I have my reasons to think that they might not have a great snow year, but I could be wrong. And then potentially an enhanced snow through those regions we were talking about. Kentucky, Tennessee, portions of northern Mississippi, northern Alabama could get involved, Arkansas, eastern Texas. So, you know, Ohio, western Virginia, West Virginia. Let's go to our historical SSTs. And let's zoom in here a little bit. Why is this? There we go. This is our current North Pacific oscillation. It's hot. All right. You go back in time, we're not seeing NPOs this warm. We can go back to, it was pretty warm there. We're a little bit warmer this year. Pretty warm there. I mean, I'm looking at this right here specifically, and that's hot. If we went back to our last week La Nina event, we just didn't have a Northern Pacific that looked like this. If you look back all through these, there's none of it. Now, recently we've had some warmer temperatures up in the Northern Pacific. But if you look in 2023 when it was pretty warm up there, in 2024, that wasn't a weak La Nina. We were in Enzo neutral, and we were in El Nino 2023. We were in a strong La Nina 2022. This looks to me like we were in a weak La Nina 2021, but the NPO up north, North Pacific, wasn't as warm. This looks like a strong La Nina, not as warm. So what am I trying to say? Well, this is going to enhance it. I'm going to break this down real quick. Let me turn the music down a little bit. So here we go. Yeah, we'll get back to the tropics in a second. What about southeastern Maine? They haven't had anything. Well, listen, this weak La Nina with the amplified MPO is going to give us a chance for more amplified troughs, which allows for that nor'easter setup. We were talking about that earlier in the stream, and I'll go over that in a second. So I think we'll have a better chance for nor'easters, which is where you get the big snow in southeastern Maine. But this is what I wanted to show you guys. Let's just go into here, and let's go back over to. Okay, we don't really need to see this. We know it's cold down here. We know this is below average temperatures here. Our jet stream's gonna not really have a bunch of convection to hold on to, so it's gonna move up to the north. But anyways, let's go up into the Northern Pacific where I want to show you guys. And we talked about this earlier, but I'm gonna go into more depth this stream. So our jet stream's gonna. We know this is what happens when you have cooler waters, below average waters down there in the equatorial Pacific, especially in the eastern equatorial Pacific and the 3.4 index. Our jet stream is going to come up here and do something like this. Now, the warmer this water is, the more above average it is, which it's very above average, the more storm systems that are going to ride this jet stream. That's where you get your enhanced moisture from. Also, the more storm systems you have riding this, typically the more the opportunities you have for your jet stream for your polar vortex to weaken and your jet stream to become a little bit more amplified. If we get lows popping up here and we get a high building up over the north, over the Arctic, we're gonna have a very unstable polar vortex. La Ninas typically tend to destabilize the stratospheric and tropospheric polar vortex way more than El Ninos when your jet stream's sitting down here to the south. So that being said, if you imagine a lot more storm systems than normal headed down into the states with much colder temperatures than a typical winter, you just put 2 and 2 together. You're expecting a cold, snowy winter for a lot of people. There's not a 100% chance that this validates, but I'd say about 70% chance. 70% chance it validates. 70 to 80% chance. I'd give the temperatures, and I'd say a cold winter is like an 80% chance. Moisture 60, 70%. because there's still time for these waters to cool down a little bit. We did see right down here, south of Alaska, cooling down a little bit. They've had a lot of storm systems here. That's one of the reasons we've been so warm, by the way, in the States. They've been being hammered with troughing and lows up here, and what that does is put up ridge over the United States. So, funny enough, this little cooler patch of water is directly correlated to why we've been so hot in the States. Kind of weird, right? But yeah, moving back over here. Let's go over to North America, and then I'm gonna get more into this because I already went over this last stream. Get me to North America. Getting back over here, as I said, our jet stream could set up like this winter. And look, just because I say that it looks like it's going to be a colder winter than normal doesn't mean it's going to be like well below average the entire winter. We're still going to have a couple weeks here and there where I'm sure we have well above average temperatures, like a week or two in December or January, November. It just means as an average, if you were to average up the entire month of December, January, and February with this type of setup, I would say November, December, January, because it's going to be front end. It's supposed to be much colder than normal and a little bit wetter than normal. You know, if our jet stream sets up like this, you're going to be dry up here in the Pacific Northwest. If our jet stream sets up like this, you're going to be very wet up in the Pacific Northwest. And I think our NPO is going to be the deciding factor on where our jet stream wants to come in for most of the winter. But here's what happens. Our jet stream is going to be set up something like this during a weak La Nina, typically. Not always, most of the time. KJ, Confused Blonde, Breezy, what's going on? And that's why you see just cold, and all these forecasts for weak La Ninas up here. But as I said, we're expected to get extra storm systems into here and extra breakage up here with our stratospheric polar vortex. And what that does is it pushes this jet stream down a little bit farther south, like that. And now suddenly, especially if this is coming out of Oregon, now suddenly the entire country is well below average, except for maybe portions of the Southwest and maybe portions of the Southeast. And if we get a lot of storm systems this year, we could have a jet stream that is really bent, and we get a lot of that ridging up over Alaska and that high pressure and those high heights building up over the Arctic. We could have a very collapsed, amplified jet stream for a lot of this, for at least the front end of the winter. That gives you your chances for nor'easters. Definitely greatly increase your chances for nor'easters. It doesn't mean you're going to have one, but it means your chances are up for nor'easters. And again, I've said it before. We'd expect more snow up here, but again, if it really gets as cold as it could this winter, sometimes it gets too cold for snow. You literally get a cold core high setup where there's a literal high pressure setup that is not allowing for convection or snowfall because it's so dang cold, like what happens in Siberia. So that's a possibility. Now, also notice we're super hot everywhere here. This is a lot of extra moisture. Our Gulf is the second hottest in history on this date. Western Atlantic and Caribbean are top 5. So what does that do when you have an amplified trough like this and you have extra warm water down here? It's just extra moisture. What you need for a nor'easter is you need an amplified trough, which we believe that we're going to have a couple times or maybe a lot this year. You need warm waters down here. You want like above average waters down here. That helps. We have that. You need a storm system that develops and rides this jet stream when it makes its dips. There's a good chance we could have that a few times this year. So again, if you're a snow lover, if you're a winter lover, it's a pretty good setup for everyone. That's kind of what's going on right now. You know, our Canadian is obviously confirming very cold northern tier states, December, January, and February. This isn't being aggressive. I would say that this is probably going to look more like this with the average to below average. Maybe even like this, but it's still showing a La Nina type setup. And it holds that through the entire winter. You can see as we get into November, December, January, it does really like, again, a jet stream. You can kind of see where it wants the jet stream to sit based on where it thinks it's going to be colder and where it's going to be warmer. It's going to be warmer beneath the jet stream. It's going to be colder above the jet stream. These models are just confirming the stuff that we already know, or that we're already suspecting. The CFS is doing some crazy stuff here. Don't really know what the CFS is doing here, but let's go into seasonal temperature anomalies. It's just things. Well, this is fall. This is a fall setup, so it's not showing us winter. Let me look at something else here as well. Give me one second, guys. I'm gonna look at this real quick. Let's look at G, and I'm gonna answer some questions here in literally just 1 second. Here's what our GFS thinks. Literally, the snowfall is going to be for the month of October. Notice it being pretty aggressive. We're not talking November, December. This is where it thinks snow could fall in the month of October. That's pretty aggressive. Again, do I think the snow is going to fall as far south as some of this? I don't think so. It's possible, though. How's snow looking for the south this winter? I think south central. I think this area could have a pretty good winter. This is the area. Well, I would say this is the area that could struggle. These areas could struggle right there. Those two circled areas could struggle. But that's just for I think for the average of the winter, it's going to struggle. You could get 1 or 2 storms down there to bring some snow. It's not that difficult. Not getting too much snow in the mid-Atlantic. It's well, this is, I'm showing you just for October right now. So no, we'll have a chance, I think, for a couple nor'easters this winter. So with the setup. Near Houston singing "Let It Snow." A lot of weak La Niñas have a below average eastern Texas. If you looked at what we were looking at before, it's very interesting. Well, these are all average to below average in eastern Texas, but look at the precipitation in eastern Texas. It always seems to be above average in a weak La Nina setup. This is average. This is above average. This is average to above average. This is average to above average. There's really no below average ever in eastern Texas during a weak La Nina. So it's possible to see below average precipitation, but weak La Ninas tend to like, for eastern Texas, tend to like above average. Average to above average precipitation and average to below average temperature. So something to look at there. But yeah, this is a GFS. GFS thinks you could get some snow in some interesting places here. Iowa, Minnesota, northern Illinois in October. I don't know. Michigan, PA, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. Interesting. Nebraska, Kansas, maybe. We'll see. I don't think it's tough to get early season snow in Kansas in October unless it's far end of October and you get a nice little amplified trough pushing in. But again, we will be entering a weak La Nina with a warm NPO, so it's not impossible. I just want 1 foot plus snow. Yes, it could, Justin. It could, and that's what we were talking about with our weak La Nina with an amplified jet setup. I got to show you guys something actually that suggests this. If you do get a jet stream like this, that's what brings you. You want your storm systems moving just off the coast. You want your storm systems moving just off the coast. They usually come out of the Gulf and then they go up the coast like this, because this is always the cold side. This is the warm side. So what happened last year is we had a couple systems that came up the coast, but they were just to the west of your major cities, DC, Philly, New York, and so you got some good snow in West Virginia, PA, upstate New York, and you get none on the coast. With the weak La Nina setup, you expect to have a couple chances where your actual jet stream and your storm systems are a little bit farther south and a little bit farther east, a little more amplified, and that's when the tracks track right offshore. And when your storm tracks track right offshore of the Mid-Atlantic in New England, then it's all cold air in here, and that precipitation is falling all as snow. So that's why I'm saying it's a little bit of a better setup like that. Yeah. Can I get another December tornado? Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, Enzo neutrals tend to be extremely, we tend to see a lot more tornadoes in Enzo neutrals typically weak La Ninas, weak El Ninos as well. Once you get into the moderate to strong in the La Ninas and El Ninos, it typically aren't as bad fall or spring tornado seasons. So we'll still we still have the possibility to having a severe fall, severe season. So it's something we need to watch out for. So basically, this winter is looking good for the Mid-Atlantic snow-wise. Yeah, well, it's one of those. Listen, I'll tell you what I think for the Mid-Atlantic. In a weak La Nina, for the Mid-Atlantic, if I had to give my guesstimate on how this winter's going to go, I think the Mid-Atlantic is actually going to have slightly above average temperatures this winter. But above average temperatures, that doesn't mean you're have less of a chance of seeing snow. I think that the Mid-Atlantic, I'm trying to put my thoughts together in my head before I say them because I don't want to say anything dumb. I want to actually tell you what I think based on this pattern. I would expect a lot less. I would expect not a lot of snowstorms in the Mid-Atlantic this winter, but I would expect bigger snowstorms in the Mid-Atlantic this winter with this setup. Meaning there's some years where you can get 8, 9, 10 clipper systems moving over the Mid-Atlantic dropping snow. I think you could get snow 3 or 4 times this year, but 1 or 2 of those times could be a lot of snow, a foot or 2 or more of snow, because that's what nor'easter setups do. Your normal track this year is going to be storms just off to your west, but we're expecting to have a decent amount of polar breaks this year, polar vortex breaks, and when that happens, it shoves our jet stream to the south. Guarantee you it's going to happen a good amount of times. All you need is 1 or 2 of those times to have a storm system waiting for it down here in the Gulf, and that'll ride up, and that'll be your nor'easter. So if you had me guess, I'd say below average amount of snowstorms, but above average to above average snow. The Monster Blizzard 2016 was El Nino. Yeah. If you look back, some of the snowiest years were above average winters. When you have above average air, it actually generates more thunderstorm or more storm activity. It puts more heat into the atmosphere. You get a lot more evaporation. So when you have above average winter, you can actually get more precipitation during that winter. So it's not like everyone thinks, we're expected to be above average this winter. We're gonna have no snow. That's not always true. One of Philly's snowiest years was like their 5th hottest winter on record. One of their snowiest winters. So it's not always correlated like that. But I would say this: if you're down like in the south in the areas that it's much harder to get snow, I'm talking Carolinas, Tennessee, Arkansas, Texas, Oklahoma. These areas down, of course, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, stuff like this, you typically do want it to be a below average because even if there's a lot more moisture down here, you need to get those below freezing temperatures. Listen, you're going to have a good amount of weeks in the Mid-Atlantic where you're going to have tons of days below where your temperature gets below freezing. So having a slightly above average winter temperature-wise, most of the time that's not what crushes your snow chances. Just started a weather club at my high school because of you. Oh, that's sick, Duke. That's awesome. Duke, are you in my Discord? Yeah, join my Discord. That's really cool. That's pretty cool. I can chat with you about that. Huddle, I appreciate you. What is this? Oh. Interesting. Oh, I can do polls and stuff now on that side. Winter prediction, Minnesota, Midwest. Yeah, listen, I have high confidence that it's going to be a cold, below average temperature winter. High confidence that it's going to be a colder winter than normal. Not 100% confidence, but high confidence that's going to be a below average temperature winter. I'm torn on the snow aspect. And the reason I'm torn on the snow aspect is because I think it's going to be so cold. Again, I love snow. I'm in Minnesota. I worry about the cold, us getting that cold core high set up because we're too dang cold for too long. And then we struggle to get moisture. But I will say this, with how warm our NPO is, and all these extra storm systems I expect to be pushing into the states. I think those low pressure systems will kind of push that. If we do get like a cold core high setup, they'll bring with those low pressure systems bring with them some heat on the front edge, and that could completely solve our problem. So I'm kind of 60-40 on Minnesota and the Midwest in general. I think the Great Lake region is going to do great. Upper Midwest and Northern Plains, a little bit of a toss-up, but I'd say I'm 60-40 that it's going to be an above-average snow season for most people in that region. Yeah, I think I would expect Michigan to have a pretty good winter. It's typically below average temperature-wise and above average precipitation with this type of setup. And it's going to be an enhanced weak La Nina likely. Rockford Miller, I appreciate you. I appreciate the follows, guys. Do you think Northern Kentucky will see more snow than normal? I do. That's one of the areas I talked about, especially Northern Kentucky. Yes. As I said, this area in general, it's a very interesting pattern with weak La Ninas. This area in general, right here, for some reason, and I guess I kind of get why, because our jet stream comes like this and comes up like this, so you get storms coming down here, meeting with moisture off the Gulf, and then you suddenly get a ton of precipitation there. But right there where I circled, there, typically gets well above average precipitation over winter in a weak La Nina. And again, precipitation, moisture, winter, there's a lot of chances there for that precipitation to be snow. So that's why I said I actually thought this corridor could have a pretty good winter as well. Again, the areas I'm southwest, I think could struggle. Northwest is going to be hit or miss. It depends where jet stream sets up. Does it set up to the north for most of winter, or down here or through Oregon? This is a big question mark for me up in the Pacific Northwest. But I think southeast is going to struggle a little bit. And I think the Rockies is a question mark as well. Again, this where our jet stream enters up here is going to be very interesting. I expect the Mid-Atlantic and East Coast, the Mid-Atlantic and New England coast, this coastline here. Again, if I did give you my best educated guess, I'd expect less snowstorms, but I'd expect more intense snowstorms when you have them. And I'm not just pulling stuff out of my butt, guys. I've been studying this stuff for a long time, and I understand kind of jet stream patterns, and a lot of it's going to come down to our MJO too. I haven't even brought up the Matt and Julian oscillation, but we had I believe we were in MJO phase 7 or 8 last January, and that's when we got our big Gulf snowstorm. If we get an MJO at phase 7 or 8 in December, we could have big snow in December, because I think December is going to be could be a cold December. If we get that MJO phase 7-8, which is when we have a lot of extra, and MJO is a seasonal low pressure system that starts off the coast of basically Madagascar, moves across the Indian Ocean, out over the Pacific, and then out over into the Atlantic Basin in phase 7 and 8. If we get that, and then it's just a ton of extra moisture when it's here. If we get that moisture in December and we have all this extra cold, we could get big snow for a lot of people, and we could get a white Christmas for a lot of people. So I don't know. I got to look at the MJ. I actually haven't looked at the MJO forecast in a while. Maybe I should do that with you guys. There's a lot here. Any Clipper snows for the Northeast? We're going to get a lot of Clippers in the Northern Plains and in the Midwest. Northeast, you would expect those Clipper storms to kind of curve up with the jet stream. So I think you could have a decent amount of Clipper systems up in the Northeast, yeah. Weak La Ninas are pretty good for, someone said Northeast skiing or New England skiing. Is that what you mean? You'd expect at least average to slightly above average snow up there in this type of pattern. No problem, Vicky. Let's look at the MJO forecast here. God, this is a mess. This forecast is hurting my head. Let me see if we can get a better look here. Let's go back. 1 second, guys. Give me 1 second. This is important. Let me move this back over. This isn't showing us in a phase 6 MJO, but I thought we were in a phase 6 MJO. September 20th, September 28th. Hold up here. Give me a second, guys. The plotting isn't always this messed up. Sometimes you have a nice MJO that's like plotted like this, right? You can see where you are. This is a complete mess. I believe we are in a phase 6 MJO right now. Now listen, if you say on average the MJO is 2 to 3 months, I would say in 2 to 3 months. So let's say from this date, let's call it 3 months. October, November, December 28th, right? And you do the full rotation. We very well could be entering or be in a phase 7 or 8 MJO. And if that confirms for December, gonna be a snowy December. This is an ugly MJO plot right now, though. Getting a headache looking at it. Does lake effect snow look active? Well, you know what the main reason for lake effect snow is? Chat, can you tell me that? So basically, winter's looking good for the Mid-Atlantic snow-wise. I would say so, yes. You think northern? There's always a little bit of luck if it's a weak La Nina, but you don't need a ton, just a little bit, because we expect. I think we're gonna get a few chances for a big nor'easter up there in the Mid-Atlantic this year. So basically, okay, that makes sense. You think northern Kentucky will see more snow than normal? Yep, I think I answered that. I think it will. Yeah, female Jim Cantori. Yep, the difference in water temperatures and moisture coming off the lakes. Yes, if you want a lot of lake effect snow, you want an above average temperature wise Great Lakes. You want the Great Lakes to be pretty warm as you're entering winter, and then you want below average air. What causes the lake effect snow is very cold air moving over very warm water, and that causes that condensation, and that moisture rapidly rises, and it creates its own weather system, and it all just comes inshore as snow. If your water temperatures are below average in the Great Lakes and you're getting just average to above average air, you're not getting any lake effect snow. Now, we could say check. We expect the air to be well below average for a lot of winter up here, especially the front end of winter. So that's good for lake effect snow. I believe the water temperatures in the Great Lakes are pretty above average right now. Let's take a look at that. I think they're running above average. Where can I take a look at that? Where can I take a look at that? I wonder if I can take a look at that on Weatherbell. Who knows? We're actually here. Let's do this. Great Lakes temp anomaly, right? Let's just type stuff in. It's not that hard. Okay, here we go. Wait, is this
New information.
Is this current?
Flood warning
As of
has been
9/27.
updated.
Okay, but this is an anomaly, is it? This is just water temperature. I want anomaly. Give me a second. Paul, I appreciate you. I'm looking for Great Lakes. Let's look at SST and see if there's anything in here. Oceanic. I wonder if this has the Great Lakes on it. It has seas. show me the temperature anomaly. Who knows? Are the Great Lakes? I suspect that they are above average. They should be because, well, they should be above average going into winter because they're having a very, very warm September. And they'll have a warm beginning of October as well. Let's see. Surface temperature contour maps. Sea surface temperatures. Okay, yes. Great. Lake surface temperature statistics. Analysis. Great. Great. Okay, here. Clear sky, real time. SST. Is this our anomaly? No, that's just sea surface temperature. What the heck, guys? I need my gosh dang anomalies. Why? Why won't you? No one cares about the temperature. We just care about the anomalies. Average. Here, let's look in here. Here we go. Wait. Oh, you know what? Climate reanalyzer actually might show me this. Okay, here we go. Wait, that was 2020. Let's go. That was 2021. That was 2022. Yeah, let's just go to climate reanalyzer. Ooh, I wonder if they have the Great Lakes on here. We've got sea surface temperatures. Daily temperature, SST. Oh, it kind of shows in here. Right? Is that would be below average. I don't suspect it's below average though, but it could be. SST. Hey Matt, can you tell me what the Great Lakes water temperature? I'm trying to find something that can show me the temperature anomalies in the Great Lakes right now, because I want to see if we're running well above average with how cold the beginning of winter is going to be. We could get a lot of early winter, some major early winter snow off the Great Lakes. Lake effect snow. No, Tidbits doesn't have it. So let me just go to sea surface. Gulf of Maine. Okay. Atlantic MDR. Gulf's running pretty warm. And our Enzo 3.4 is running cold. Let me research tomorrow. I'm in bed. Does cold December equal mid rest of winter for East? No, not necessarily. I think we're projected to have a pretty cold November, December, and January right now. Will North Carolina snow-wise be below average or above average? North Carolina could struggle this winter. I think the mountains could do pretty good, Western North Carolina. But I'm like lowland North Carolina could struggle. But again, if we do get a one or two of those nor'easter setups, they typically drop a lot of snow across central North Carolina when that happens. I'm nervous for school. Again, gonna be busy. Yeah. Welcome to my life. Gemini, I appreciate that. Okay, well, I guess I'm not going to find right now what I'm looking for. That's fine. Let me try one more time. Let's see. Great Lakes sea surface. Wait. Well, yeah, let's just do water temp anomaly. I'm just going to type out all the words. Oh, select lake. Okay. Well, is it going to show me? No results. All right. Even Noah doesn't have it. Fantastic. Oh, wait, here we go. What's this? I want to know this so bad. Water level, water. I mean, it's got every single thing I could want to know about the lakes except for the anomalies right now. That's so, it's like everything I could want to know about this lake except for the anomalies. All right. Listen, I'd expect them to be above average as we move into winter, because we're having a pretty warm September, pretty warm early October as well. So with that, yeah, lake effect snow could definitely be enhanced beginning of winter. They could be. Sea Wolf Lover, I appreciate the sub. Jennifer M, I appreciate that. By the way, guys, if you're on TikTok, you can turn the phone sideways and you can see a bigger angle. Matt, this is what the GFS thinks snow-wise in October. It's being aggressive. It's being aggressive because it sees the second half of October getting very cold and very storm system-y. The Euro sees it as well. GFS a little more aggressive. Well, actually, if you go out here, the Euro's pretty aggressive as well. Yeah. Hey Matt, you know I was showing them this. Look at our precipitation anomalies for a weak La Nina. Notice any trend here? Look at Kentucky, especially Kentucky. You guys get real wet in weak La Ninas. You know what I'm saying, Matt? Real wet and wild out there in Kentucky. Wait. Raid? What's going on? DL Scales? Did I say that correctly? What is cracking? I just noticed that. Holy crap. What's going on, guys? Well, thanks for stopping by. We're just talking about some winter predictions right now. Sweet. Let me see this real quick. One second, guys. Alabama doesn't need the effect of a hurricane. Well, luckily, here's our latest updates. Again, for those who just entered, strong Category 4 hurricane Humberto was originally projected to stay a little bit farther out east, be a little bit smaller, and not have that Fujiwara or pulling effect on Tropical Storm Imelda. Now, as they get closer, Imelda wants to go into shore, but Humberto is going to say and it's going to pull it. Its low pressure center is going to kind of magnetize this low pressure center and pull it off to the east, sparing us along the southeastern coast. Now, there's another potential storm system right behind it. We could have another tropical system out here within a week, so we got to watch that. But right now, looks like we're going to be pretty good. We're going to get a little bit of rainfall, potentially a little bit of surge out here, beach erosion, but we're looking pretty good along the southeastern coast now. We are. Oh, nice. Well, what's going on, everyone? Listen, my YouTube streams are usually pretty lonely. I'm over on TikTok as well, though. Gemini, I appreciate it. We're still going to have a rough surf and rip current warnings. Yes, correct. Kentucky winter prediction. Listen, Kentucky, as I just showed, is typically gets below average temperatures in a weak La Nina and above average precipitation. What do you get when you get below average temperatures and above average precipitation? Typically more rainfall. I mean, more snowfall. We got a warm MPO. I'll keep saying it. That warm water that above average water in the northern Pacific is probably going to give us an enhanced storm track through this region. So I think Kentucky could have a good year, snow-wise, a good winter snow-wise. Yeah, how's it looking with the hurricanes? Yeah, we just went over that. Pretty good. Hurricane Humberto. These are going to be getting a little bit closer to each other over the next 24 to 48 hours. And Humberto is expected to begin to pull on Imelda. That's what it's seeing. That's why Imelda's curving, because of the pull from this low pressure. I can't remember in my lifetime ever seeing two hurricanes or two tropical cyclones run up the coast to each other, and then one's about to make landfall and the other one yanks it away. But there's a first for everything, and that's why most models just 24 to 48 hours ago saw the storm still going into land. algorithms didn't pick up on this correctly. This is something that does not happen every day. I don't know if it's ever happened since we've had models just like this. Sadie, what's poppin'? What is poppin'? Mississippi snow. Listen, northern Mississippi could have a good year. Southern Mississippi, along the Gulf, southeast is going to struggle. But, again, we talk about these areas usually receive more moisture right here during a weak La Nina. There's a very, very strong anomaly, above average precipitation anomaly in this area for a weak La Nina. So, you know, will the temps be cold enough is the question. Northern Mississippi could see a good winter. I don't know about central and southern. I wish I could only give good news, but oh, that's awesome. Well, yeah, I appreciate the raid from him. That's awesome. Let's see here. Southern Missouri snow. I put in my winter forecast average to above average snow in that region. I mean, I can pull up. I posted my winter forecast. I could pull it up here to show you guys what it looks like. I'm gonna put out an updated winter forecast here in October because, you know, things change. I haven't changed my mind on much. Because I did my winter forecast expecting a warm North Pacific and a weak La Nina Enzo, which it still looks like we're going to have, so I'm not going to change much, but there are some things I may change. Specifically, the Pacific Northwest, I'm going to have to think about how I want that forecast. But let me see if I can show you this. Where do I have it? Is my downloads back here somewhere? Give me a second. I'll show you what my winter forecast is. All right, here it is. Here it is. This is kind of what my winter forecast looks like. Not kind of what my winter forecast looks like. This is it, actually. Yes. Up here, where it says polar vortex, I'm a little bit torn on if I think we're going to get a lot of extra snow here or not. And that's because, like I've said, when it gets too cold, you can get that cold core high set up. And sometimes it being too cold can actually reduce the amount of snow you get. I also, you know, this is, where'd my pen go? Give me a second. The Pacific Northwest. Listen, our jet stream is likely to come in. Why isn't it letting me draw? Give me a second, guys. Interesting. It's not letting me draw on this. Okay. Pen doesn't work on there. Our jet's going to likely come in somewhere up here in the Northwest. If it comes in too high, we're going to have a dry, mild Pacific Northwest. But right now I'm thinking I would probably move this over a little bit, and I'd have this a little bit above average right in here. And potentially a little bit colder and a little bit more moisture than normal. Now, look, if you're in the south, if you're in a dry and mild area, except for Pacific Northwest, I might change that. Doesn't mean you're not going to get snow. Doesn't mean you're not going to have, doesn't mean you can't have a cold winter. This would be the average of the winter, meaning you could have some weeks where you get a very, very cold temperatures. You could get a snowstorm. You could get whatever. This is the average. And I came to this conclusion based on a lot of different water temperatures, based on the amount of sea ice we have, based on all of our different oscillation looks and our Enzo cycle we're supposed to be in. This is, there's going to be some stuff moved around in my updated winter forecast. Not drastically. Like, I expect some large snowstorms for New England. I expect that polar vortex to really impact the upper Midwest and northern plains. Colorado, I would say average snow. I don't think I'd change that. Above average snow here. I'm going to have to look at the south. I'm going to have to look at the Pacific Northwest. And then I might make a separate section for the Mid-Atlantic here. But yeah, that's going to be with my next one. I'll put it on a couple weeks, maybe a week. I don't know. Could this winter be like 2013, 2014? A lot of people are comparing it to 2013, 2014 based on our like SSTs and analogs. I think it's a pretty fair comparison, but I think there are some better comparisons. One sec, guys. Oh, crap. Oh, there we go. Sorry. I think there are some better comparisons. I saw someone comparing from the winter of like, you know what, here, I can show you guys. This is, let me show you guys this because this is straight from Weatherbell. I really like Weatherbell. That's why I pay freaking $80 a month for it during winter. It's got great winter forecasting tools and analysis and meteorologists who put in their own opinion on here. Okay, the threat of a cold winter looms. And we're not talking, it's winter, of course it's cold. No, colder than normal. Okay? Colder than normal. The threat of a cold winter looms. I know this is a little bit cut off, but whatever, we'll survive. Plenty of blocking is expected over the Arctic. When you get Arctic blocking, you get high heights in the Arctic, that's when your stratospheric polar vortex breaks. And we've all heard everyone has the clickbaity videos every winter. Polar vortex, blah, 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 blah. Well, it's a real thing. And when you get a lot of blocking up over the Arctic, you get a lot of polar vortex breaks, which means air that is very cold air that has no business being down in the U.S., but it gets pushed down here. A lot of meteorologists on Weatherbell are seeing a lot of blocking up in the Arctic this winter. Makes sense. An enhanced jet stream up north, because we're going to have, being a La Nina, an enhanced jet stream, and then we're going to have that warm MPO, an enhanced jet stream up north, blocking in the Arctic. Our polar vortex could be very unstable this year, which if you like winter, that's good for you. Predominant Alaskan ridge should lead to plenty of cold air. Ooh. Now, these are kind of related. Alaskan ridge blocking up in the Arctic. What does he mean by this? Pretty simple. When you get blocking up over Alaska, what they're saying, or Alaskan ridge, what they're saying is we're going to have a big ridge up here. Now, what happens if there's a ridge here? Well, this is going to be hot air. And then your ridge has to come back down. It's going to come back down somewhere over here, and then you're going to get a trough. And what's in here? This is a very simplistic way of putting it. This is your trough, and this is very cold air. Okay? Hot, cold. There's good confidence and a big Alaskan ridge building up in the beginning of winter. Good confidence and blocking to the north. That leads to cold air being pushed down into here. And what happens when you have all of this cold air and storm systems pushing down into our jet? It collapses. And when it collapses, oh, look, there's your increased chance for nor'easters, which is good for the mid-Atlantic, coastal mid-Atlantic and New England. A lot of things pointing towards some good snow, some good scenarios this winter. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. I'm just telling you what we're seeing. Jasmine, I appreciate it. As a Michigander, I hate seeing polar vortex. Some people like it, some people hate it. I agree. A lot of people in the South like it because they don't get as wintry of a winter, and it gives them a chance to see it. Autumn, I appreciate the sub. Anyone else who subbed or followed, I'm sorry. I know I'm missing a bunch, but I really appreciate you guys. Dry and mild, typical North Carolina weather. Listen, if we get one or two nor'easter setups, those typically drive up through central North Carolina, and Charlotte, Raleigh areas would get a ton of snow. So your hope for snowy winter isn't over in the Carolinas. I think the coastal Carolina could really struggle though. Northwest, let's see here. But anyways, so that's some good stuff. Another cold period from Thanksgiving to Christmas is on the table, but this time it may not break. We had a cold period overall last year between Thanksgiving and Christmas. They think it's going to happen again, but they don't think we're going to get that snapping at Christmas. They think it's going to hold through January. It's going to stay cold. All right. The heart of winter looks coldest relative to average. So the heart of winter looks coldest December, January, February. But there are questions as to how it starts and ends. What a lot of people think is a cold start to winter and a warm ending to it. A lot of cold and snow up front, but we get into February and things start to fall apart. All right. This is composite temperature anomalies. They're comparing it to, they're trying to compare it to some similar years here. You see that 2014, 2015. There's just 2016, 2017, 2012, 2013. This is all this is average temps, below average temps. You can see the confidence in the upper Midwest and Northern Plains, it being cold. Okay, first flake to last flake, snowfall percentages. Again, this is where they like a good amount of snow this winter. Guys, remember, this is outlook stuff. Temperatures for the heart of winter. Here's what they expect right now. Is going to be the coldest December, January, and February. That region there. Doesn't mean we're not going to get, doesn't mean we couldn't get very cold out here in December, January, February, or very cold out here. This is an average of the winter. It's not like the entire winter. The Euro loves to forecast an Alaskan ridge from December to January. Ooh, December and January. If we have an Alaskan ridge, you guys can see the ridge here. Look at that ridge over Alaska. Look at that ridge. If this were to come true, oh my gosh. With the setup we have, if we had an major Alaskan ridge December and January, that means you can see this whole area here. I'm even talking down into the southeast. I'm talking Northern Plains down through Arkansas, Louisiana, and out east. Everyone out east. It'd be very cold December, January. And if we got an MJO phase 7-8 in December, January with this setup, we could see historic snow. So that's something to pay attention to. Let's watch that Alaskan ridge. Let's watch the blocking up over the Arctic. Given it can't see cold, the trough signal in the east is impressive at 500 millibars. Yes, this is a model that doesn't see cold. It sees ridging. But look, it sees no warmth here. No heights. The Canadian seasonal winter forecast last year did the best. It's banging the drum for a cold one as much as it can for now, meaning they think it'll get more aggressive. But right now, those areas look very cold this winter. But they think that they're saying as cold as it can for now. They're thinking it's going to get more aggressive on this cold, and it's going to push this south. Could Tennessee get a snowstorm this winter? 100%. My county in Michigan has been in a drought, so good news. Yeah. You guys are supposed to have a pretty good winter there in Michigan. Snow-wise. The winter that we had a week off... The winter that... I'm probably reading this wrong. Yeah, week off school because of cold. We could get a lot of school cancellations in the Midwest and Northern Plains this year for cold. Check this out. In the last 10 days of runs, this is a little bit outdated. In the last 10 days of runs from the CFS control. The last 10 days of runs from the CFS control echo the Canadian seasonal to some extent. That's what our CFS thinks for cold air. For winter, the heart of winter, December, January, February. What is standing out to me is the CFS SST forecast off the East Coast. Very interesting. Very cool water off the East Coast potentially. That is very interesting, actually. I actually had to notice that. The warm ring is also getting closer to the West Coast than we have seen since the winter of 2013, 2014, and 2014, 2015. Those were very snowy winters, guys. And part of it was how warm the water was out here in the Eastern Pacific, close to the coast. This gives us an enhanced storm track. And storms in winter typically bring with them snow. A lot of things pointing towards something interesting. This is very interesting as well. Okay, look. Let's go back here. A weak La Nina signature, but last year the ONI did not even make the required period for an official La Nina event. So we had La Nina waters last year, but not for 3 months straight. We did not go into an official La Nina. It always seems to be too cold. I think a weak, non-existent cool signal is on the way. And with more warm water close to the West Coast and cool water off the Northeast Coast, it should allow for a lot of cold air to come into the country. The falling global temperatures, I've explained this The globe is the coolest it's been in 4 years. We have more ice in the Arctic than we've had in 10 years, I think. We have more ice in Siberia than we've had in 5 years. We're weirdly in a little bit of a cooling trend here on Earth. I know, you don't hear that very often lately. The falling global temperatures might be something models are not handling well. No kidding, because the temperatures have been rising every year for the last 20 years, and they're falling. The models are confused. They're drunk. As we have seen them, too warm. Yep. This is the opposite of what the usual error has been over the last 10 years. The question is still in my mind. This is written wrong. The question that's still in my mind is, no, it's not written wrong. I'm reading it wrong. What do we do with the start and end of the season, November and March? Last year was a classic example of what can happen. January and February looked like this. Ready? December and February was not as cold. And then November to March looked like this. Look at the start of last winter. Look at the end of it. We could see something similar to this year. But you'd expect with more snow. So this year I think it's going to be cold overall. I obviously, I'm reading this to you because this is pretty good information. I make my own assumptions. I agree with a lot that's on here. It makes sense. It appears another back-weighted hurricane season is shaping up. I agree with that. I think October we need to worry about. We could get a couple strong storms in the Gulf and Caribbean. I've been saying that forever. The ante is up this year because SSTs in the Pacific are suggestive of the kind of pattern that can pump an Alaskan and Western Ridge. Agreed. This means that once the cold comes, it may hang around, barring any MJO rotation. MJO can actually... MJO can mess with our temperatures. It's a low pressure. It's a troughing signal. Barring any MJO rotation into the kiss of death for cold phases. Phases 4, 5, and 6. My hand draw map is more ambitious than the analogs, so is mine. But after getting burned on being too warm on several forecasts this year, I think the trend of models not seeing enough cold air may continue. The 5-month period could be colder, as we have generally seen models too warm with their forecasts since last winter. The models have been consistently too warm. I know we're very warm right now, guys. We're above average across much of the states. But we're not talking about winter yet. Snowfall last year was weird, with streaks of heavy snow and a lack of snow in between. I would assume that a more normal distribution, agreed, I've explained this. I expect a lot more snowstorms, but not as intense snowstorms across the plains and across the Midwest, Ohio Valley, those regions. I expect the opposite for the coastal Mid-Atlantic and New England. I think less snowstorms, but heavier ones. I would assume that a more normal distribution will show up this year, and the forecast map reflects that. I agree. And that's what I've been saying. A wintry winter this year. If we don't get much snow this year, I'm going to be upset. Listen, someone always gets below average snow every year. Someone always gets above average snow. It's not perfect science, but it's still science. So that's some pretty good stuff there. All makes pretty good sense. Was there a... Let me see if we have something updated here. What are we looking at here? Give me 1 second, guys. Let's see if I can show you something else. Oh, this is him explaining our MJO.
Atmospheric event, your meteorology.
Okay.
Our impact was 4 to 6. No, that's 4. And Hot publisher is really smart. There's another Ed Beck. I'm still in a state of mourning over like Devil 4.
I just want to show you the important part of this. I don't know if I can even put this on stream.
You see it painted the
because
same
this is obviously I subscribe to this, but I want to show you something in here. Again, cold projections. Not surprising. We could see something drastic like this if we get a strong Alaskan ridge, where we have an extremely warm west and a very cold east. This is something that could happen. If we get a strong Alaskan ridge with blocking over the Arctic, we could just get pumped cold air out here for the beginning of winter. December, January, November, December. This could be... there's a lot of very interesting outcomes. They all tend to see some close to record cold or close to record snow for some people. Anyways, a lot of good information. I would like to show that video on here, but I can't. Maybe I can. I don't know. Appreciate the follow, Crazy. Crazy sweet flyer. I might be able to show it. I just don't want to risk it, you know what I mean? I don't want my channel taken down. Yeah, I mean, look at some of these maps here. Pretty crazy. Look at this. Look at this winter projection. A lot of cold anomalies, a lot of wet anomalies. All right, let's go back to here. Let me answer some questions. Anyone have any other questions? We've been talking about snow for quite a while here. Rather have snow than a tornado. I agree, Beverly. Yeah, any day of the week. Yeah, can I have chicken tendies? 100%, Allie. Can we see the map below your picture? Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot that was still there. Sorry. That should be on a satellite. Whoa. Thumbnail. There you go. There's not snow now. This is our 46-day out projection from your Euro ensembles. It's extended Euro ensemble forecast. You don't want to look at where it puts snow because it's never going to be accurate this far out. But it just shows you that the European ensembles thinks we could get some early season snow because of the temperatures we're supposed to be, because of the pattern we're flipping into in mid-October. Do you think Arkansas will have a chance to get snow? Yeah, definitely in this pattern. Probably rather be in northern Arkansas there, but no, yeah. We've been talking about it. Arkansas typically sees above average precipitation in a weak La Nina, so we're going to get a couple amplified jets this year. So yeah. Usually Ohio gets snow every year, so I'm chill with it. I hope it's like Max said about 2013. Yeah, max velocity. Cold winter for Louisiana. It's a toss-up for Louisiana because, I mean, you can look at our historic analogs here. You see some of these with Louisiana average to slightly above average. Typically, more often than not, it's a little bit above average winter in at least southern Louisiana during weak La Nina events. Doesn't mean it's going to be, but you gotta. It's important to look at some of these analogs. What's it mean with the polar vortex over Minnesota? Well, as we just went through in that last, as we just talked about, a lot is pointing towards strong Alaskan ridge. A lot of blocking up in the Arctic. When you get a lot of blocking up in the Arctic, you have a very unstable polar vortex. A much more unstable polar vortex than normal. And everyone and their grandma in the weather community is expecting a very unstable polar vortex. And when the polar vortex breaks, at the center of the country is what typically sees it first. You don't really have any ocean water to regulate your temperatures. The land is the coldest near the center of the country. When you get that ridging out over Alaska and you get a break in that polar vortex, you typically see the northern plains and upper Midwest get very, very cold, much colder than other places. Yeah, guys, if you have a Discord, you can add me on Discord, Connor's Climate Corner HQ. It's tagged up there. Thank you, Jasmine. And yeah, it's an awesome weather Discord. It's updated every single day. I'm in there. You can ask me questions. So you can definitely join. Eventually, it's going to be a sub, cheap, like $3 paid sub Discord. Right now, it's free, though. Is the new hurricane update out? Great community, so much information. I agree. What's going on, B? X Tina, appreciate it. This is the latest. This is the latest on our tropical systems. Still got a Cat 4. Humberto out here. And we've got Tropical Storm Imelda. Expect it to become Hurricane Imelda over the next, maybe, we'll say 48 hours. This would be 9:30. Yeah. Now, there's a lot. It's dealing with some shear out here, and I think so. You can see how elongated the system is becoming. That's the only thing that's going to keep it from intensifying too quickly. But Humberto is going to move up and likely pull, very likely pull Imelda out to sea with it. Its low pressure is going to tug on this low pressure. We're going to get a little bit of a Fujiwara. They're going to try to spin around each other, but they're just going to go shooting off into the Atlantic. So Humberto is saving us. Humberto is saving us from Imelda. Thank you, Humberto. Much appreciate it. He gives out free cookies if you join the Discord. Yeah, you just give me your address and I send the cookies to your house. Isn't October the month that really cools down for most of the Ohio? Yes, most of the Ohio Valley, yeah. You typically see a major change from the beginning to the end of October. Typically, you see that change in the upper Midwest and Northern Plains in September, but it's been a very warm September up here. It's been a very warm September for the lower 48 in general. This above average heat that we've had for a little bit here is not expected to stick around through October, though. It's expected to be out of here. And we think cold air is going to be sticking around for a little bit, for at least for a lot of winter, actually. Imelda took a sweet time to form, which is why we went from looking at a landfall to nada. Yeah, if Imelda was a little bit, it's definitely weaker storms. It's going to be affected more by weaker storms are affected less by a high, but they're affected more by a low. So if this were like our Bermuda high was tugging on this, it wouldn't have much of an effect yet. But it's a low pressure pulling on it, so it's going to be pulled right off to the east. I've been on here for a little bit. I forgot I streamed for almost an hour earlier. All right. I think I'm going to hop off. I will be back on tomorrow streaming at around 9 p.m. Central. I'll be posting my video. My video tomorrow should be up very early because I actually need to get to work early, and I have to post, edit, and do all my weather stuff before I get on the road to work. So I'll probably have the video up tomorrow by like 7:30 a.m. And yeah, I might this week only post. Yeah, that's I think what I'm going to do for people in the climate crew. Probably only going to post 5 days this week so I can take the other 2 days to finally get my, because I'm putting in the Discord a bunch of, informative weather content for you, like training videos and stuff like that. And I need to take a day off of posting the other content to do that. So I'll pick days where there's not much going on so I can get that finally posted in Discord. Yeah, again, if you guys want to join the Discord, Connor's Climate Corner HQ. Connor's Climate Corner HQ. And a lot of awesome content in there. I'm putting stuff in there also that is, we'll see if I post it. I want to have some stuff exclusive to Discord. Stuff like, explaining Enzo and explaining the MJO and explaining how to read a hodograph and all sorts of fun stuff. You know what I mean? Everyone wants to know how to read a hodograph and a sounding. Something brewing in the Gulf? Potentially. There's some models that see a little something moving in here, but I don't think it's going to become tropical. We do have another system out here that we're worried about becoming a hurricane. I think it's going to curve up, but we'll see. Another potential system here. We're entering a week La Nina, 2 to 3 weeks. That means we're going to have a lot of clean. We barely have any wind shear out here right now, but the Gulf and Caribbean are going to fire up in the beginning of October for the tropics likely. So No problem, Sonia. All right, guys. I will see everyone later. I'll be back on streaming tomorrow, 9 p.m. I'll have a video posted early in the morning. And I said that we were going to do a free merch giveaway this month. I guess I could do it. I could try to get it done this week in one of our streams. Or I could do it this weekend. I guess it wouldn't count. Wouldn't count for September, but we'd say that was the September free merch giveaway. We got some new winter stuff. You know what I mean? All right, everyone. Have a great night. Mods, you're awesome. Thank you for controlling chat. 99% of chat is awesome, but, you know, there's always some crazy people online. Everyone have a good night, and like I said, I'll be back at it tomorrow. See you.